Welcome to Mum Abroad's YouTube channel. Today I'm joined by Angelika Buettner. She was born and raised in Germany, where she studied photography. She continued her career in Paris. While she was there, she married and had 2 children. And later, Angelika gained international and national recognition in advertising and publishing, working for various international beauty and fashion brands, including L'Oreal and Maybelline. After 8 years living and working in New York, she's now returned to France. Hello, Angelika.
Hi, Jane. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very good. Thank you, too.
Angelika, did you always want to be a photographer?
Yes, as I remember, it was like a flash of lightning at one point, and maybe not in my youth, but I always took my father's camera away and I said, no, I can shoot against the light, which I always like and I still love. And then I had a moment where I wanted to be a journalist. I think this was not the right decision. And then I had like a flash at one point, and somebody told me, you can study photography. I said, oh my God, this is it. This is what I'm going to do.
It's interesting, isn't it? When you're younger, you have a hobby or a passion for something, and you don't actually realize that you can actually do that as a job when you're older. And then you have that light bulb moment when somebody tells you that you can, and everything kind of falls into place after that.
Totally. I think this is very important. So to follow your gut feelings, and yeah, that's what I did, and I'm totally happy about it.
You lived and worked in the States for many years. What would you say are the biggest differences between America and Europe in terms of living and working?
Oh, it's totally a different vibe, I would say. So, and it was interesting because we wanted to go to the States very early at the moment when I got my first child, and then we wanted to move to the US, and we never really did it. So we finally did it when the kids left the house, and I think it was a great decision. But on the other hand, I think if you're born European or German, or I feel more French than German anyway. So I think I have the feeling I love certain things in the US, but there are also things which I don't like. So, and then in the end, we said that it's not the right decision to stay forever. The major differences is, for example, that in the US, which is a positive thing, that people are totally open to change the career of their lives, and they change from one thing to the other, and nobody thinks it's awkward or weird. So they change professions like we change jobs or so. Yeah, and that's interesting. And it's very professional, I have to say. So working in New York is very demanding, and it's very interesting.
What made you decide to come back to Europe?
Well, basically the kids, because we wanted to be closer to our kids, who are both grown up now. But and then we also thought that we are not Americans, and we are not American in our soul. So I think there was something where is a little clash where you say, I feel better in Europe. And I was very happy to go back to France.
You published a book in 2020 called I Am, Celebrating the Perfect Imperfect. And
Yes.
that's a collection of nude portraits and words from mature women. You've described it as your passion project. How did you come about it? And can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yes, absolutely. No, it's really my passion project, and I've been advertising beauty and fashion photographer all my life. So, and at one point in my career, I started really noticing, and it was also myself going beyond the 40s, that there was something missing. And I shot beauty campaigns for big companies, and it was the so-called anti-aging creams, and we had to cast girls which were maybe in the late 20s, beginning of the 30s. And then we still had to retouch the ladies. And I think this was so wrong. And we never saw any women which were past 40, past 50, past 60, which are actually the customers, the clients for those beauty products, whatever. So, and if women over that age were used, it was always the image of a grandmother. And I think our image of women has totally changed in the last time. And women are, yes, active, getting kids late, getting working. There's so many things which have changed. So it's not the same image anymore. And at that point, I started thinking about it and said, okay, I want to do a book about women and who are strong. And then I thought, how am I going to do it? And finally, I ended up with the idea to shoot them nude because this is really a reduction to the truth as well. And there was no makeup involved, no hairstyling, no clothes to hide, basically. So it was a pure reduction, and yeah, I started with a few of my friends, and then the project got bigger and bigger, and through recommendations and more women came also up to me and said, I want to be part of the project. And I think it's very important, and the message is important.
I think it's interesting how you found people to do it, because you need a lot of confidence, I think, to put yourself out there in that situation, no, as a woman.
There was a lot of trust involved from all the women who said yes. And I said, we trust you, we trust your art, we trust your vision, we trust what you're doing. And my goal was also to make every woman happy and to love her picture and to love what she sees. Yeah. And it's with all flaws, the so-called flaws. Yes, we have, and we try to hide. So, and I thought also in the beginning, I thought maybe with lingerie or just reduction, but once you put shoes in, or when you put whatever, lingerie or underwear, whatever, so you behave differently and you pose differently than being nude.
You say it's not a work of nudes, but it's of nude portraits. So what's the difference between those two things?
I think this is very important, because when you hear nude pictures, you normally think about the young girls with their perfect bodies posing. So, and I think this is not about it. Okay, yes, there are nude, but I call it also it's like nude soul portraits, because it's much more profound. And I try to find the substance of every woman also in the picture, and represented through the pose, through the location, through the light. So this is a very intuitive work, and it's very much contrary to what I normally do when I work with big teams of stylists, art directors, hair, makeup, assistants. So this was really one-on-one sessions.
How did you choose the locations for each woman? Was that your choice or their choice?
It's a bit of both. So sometimes I knew the women, and because some of them were friends. Some of the women I have not seen before, because they were friends of friends. And then we said, okay, let's do it. And we had a talk on the phone. And I always asked, so what is your element? What is your vision of yourself? How do you see yourself? Well, do you want to be in your bed? Do you want to be outside? Do you want to be on a roof, in the water, in the fields, on a tree? So I always try to figure out what they like. And then they said, oh, I love nature, I love trees. So, and then we said, okay, let's go in the woods. And others I shot on the New York roof, or even on the Manhattan Bridge. It's just like, it's very intuitive, the whole process. And sometimes I came to the lady's house, and we said, okay, what can we do? Where's your favorite place? And then walking around and seeing things and say, okay, let's try here. It was very, very playful as well. And sometimes I had like 10 pictures I could have used on different locations. And yeah, to make them feel well as well, and to liberating and forgetting the posing and just being themselves.
And then the words that go with the pictures, where do they come from?
So they're all written by the ladies. So every woman wrote her own text. And some of them well, writing doesn't come easy for everybody. So some of them did it more easily and said, okay, I know exactly what I'm writing. And others said, okay, give me some clues. And I just gave some keywords and I said, okay, it could be this, no. So just keywords, but nothing too directing, because I wanted that everybody expresses as well what he wants to express from his private life, because it's very personal as well. If you look at the picture and then you look at the text and you kind of detect more profoundness of the woman, what she discovers. So I think the texts are really important. And I have people who write me and they say, well, I look at a picture a day and read the text and then kind of digest it. And what I also gave them, this is just at the end of the book, I gave them some lines, which is like, I am not, I'm much more, and I am again. So, and it was very interesting as well. So what came out of it? And it's so different from everybody.
You talk, Angelika, about the age of these women. In fact, these are so-called mature women. How can you portray agelessness? That's quite difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because we all do age, so it's kind of contradictory. But the thing is, I had this obsession, and I still have it, of not talking so much about the age, because I think that age doesn't define a person. So this is already like an ageless portrait, because I was refusing to put any age number behind the name. Because normally they would put like Angelika, comma, whatever age, or Jane. Yes, and I think people would say, oh, she looks good for her age, or she looks bad for her age, and it's just a provocation for judgment. So, and this is like, and I always, let's say Madonna, you have Madonna, and every time they write about Madonna, they write comma 58, 62. I don't know how old she is. It doesn't really matter. And I think it's not important at all for the personality of the person, the soul, how old we are. So that's why I call it ageless portraits, because the age, it's not important. It's just a number, but which doesn't define us.
I think you're right. Age doesn't define us, and it doesn't say something about our character. However, in the society that we live in, age is very important, or traditionally it's very important. And if you think of women in midlife, so after the age of 50, they're often sort of hidden away after that age, and they're not seen as so important in our society. And it's the young women who are out there being seen. So how do women of middle age still be seen? How can they keep themselves out there as being important?
Well, first of all, I think everything comes from yourself, from the profound insight. So you have to see your importance and not make yourself dependent on age. And I think it's how we respond to the world. And I think now there is a movement, and I meet so many women mainly through social media or friends, who are active, who are bringing their image out. And I think you see that every day as well.
It really is how you present yourself, how you put yourself out there. Because I'm 51, but I still feel the same person as when I was 30. I haven't changed. I've just changed on the outside. And a year ago, when lockdown started, I decided to stop dyeing my hair and show my natural grays. And it's been the most incredible journey, a really, really kind of fulfilling journey, which I'm still on at the moment. I'm not there yet. But it's been really interesting, because traditionally, we think of grey hair with older women, with grandmothers and so on, and or women who don't take care of themselves because they're not dyeing their hair. Then they're not, don't have the normal beauty standards. And I think that I probably felt that years ago as well. But now that I'm doing it myself, I've realized that it's other people's attitudes towards me. It's not, I feel very comfortable with my hair the way it is. I like the way it is. And it doesn't make me feel older. And if people think that, it's their own problem. It's their own preconception, or it's their own attitude. and I have to stop worrying about what other people think and just care about what I think, and I'm fine with it. And so, and when I put that out there to people, they then come back with a positive attitude. So it's quite interesting
Yes,
how people respond to you depending on how you put yourself out there in the first place.
absolutely. And it's a big movement at the moment that women start to dare and go gray. I have many friends, and also a lot of the women in the book who went gray, and I'm friends with a silver woman who has a big followership on Instagram, going gray, and I think my whole feed when I go on Instagram, it's all like gray hairs. I'm getting. It's just like it's all over.
But that's great when you see that on social media. It's a very inclusive community, and when you see the more you see on social media, the more normal it becomes. And so we start accepting the fact that more women have grey hair, and it becomes more normal. It's not just a sign of old age.
And it is beautiful. I think it's just like you have to jump and say, okay, I'm stop dying. But still, I think when you go out in the streets or you're in the city, and you still don't see a lot of gray-haired women, right? I don't know.
No, you don't. It's true.
Yeah, no.
It's definitely a conversation starter. When I'm here locally, when I'm in the shops and out and about doing things, people will actually talk to me about it, and they'll open the conversation. They'll start talking about it, about how brave I am, or they want to know why I did it, or and I find that quite interesting. And the more open you are with people about it, the more accepting they are of it, and then I think it becomes more normal.
Yeah, but they still call it brave.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they do.
No, so it's brave to dare to go away. So, but maybe in 5 years this is not going to be like this anymore. And at one point there's like, why brave? So, and then women will enjoy it, because for men it's totally normal. I think men are suffering less with going gray, but they suffer more with losing their hair.
Losing their hair, yeah.
So that's another point. And for men, you forgive many things. So we all know that if they get wrinkles, we call it character and personality. And if women get it, they said, "Oh, she's looking old," or so changed, and so.
Well, you have to change only comes about when we start moving things ourselves, and so that's what we're doing now.
Yeah, profoundly believe it starts with ourselves, and then and then with your friends, and everybody follows and says, "Oh, if you can do it, I can do it." And but I think there's a different awareness than if, let's say, when I started the book or 10 years ago. So it's just like things have changed profoundly at the moment.
Angelika, I know that you've been working hard to promote this book. I think you have a copy there with you. If you could hold it up for our viewers to see.
Yeah. So, oops.
That way, exactly. It's an amazing photograph on the cover. Really, really beautiful.
So this is like an underwater picture, as you can see. And this woman, very interesting as well in America. She's like a, how do you call that, long distance swimmer. She swam through the Long Island Sound from one side to the other. And very, very interesting women who all have their own story. And so for sure, her element is the water, and you can see she's totally divine in the water.
Angelika, just to finish, I wanted to ask you, the book is a homage to modern goddesses. If you had been a photographer 100 years ago, or even 50 years ago, who would you have been photographing?
Oh my God, I think that's a good question. I think they were always, what attracts me is like the strong women and the women who go away from mainstream. So it's kind of all the women who did something else, who became a fashion designer, who were the first scientific people, who studied, who did things differently, women who moved out of their comfort zone, maybe. So all those women. And who were feminists. I don't know. It's just like who did different things. Yes, like interesting personalities. like Coco Chanel. I don't know. It doesn't have to be in the fashion world. It can be very modest as well. But yeah, all those women would be interesting.
So if anybody watching today would like to know more about the book, they can have a look at your website,
Yeah.
iam-themovement.com, and
Yes.
there they can find your contact details.
Yes. 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 Yeah, that's the best way to communicate. There's an email. They can send me an email. You can order the books through the website. And find a lot of information as well, some text, some photos, and background stories. There's the blog. Yeah, the website is constantly growing as well, so we always add things up.
Thank you very much for joining me today. It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you, Jane, and nice talking to you as well.